People need to see this every time it comes across my feed. I'm just going to send it to them. What you see when you see a bot farm. So there's bot farms that have essentially an unlimited number of social media profiles, and they just go after whatever subject it is. And all they're trying to do is get people to hate each other. And this is a bot farm. And this is another creepy aspect of AI that was exposed fairly recently. Some accounts got suspended because they realized that the CCP was using ChatGPT to run these kind of bot farms.
A few moments later.
Look at
He
this.
needs energy.
What? Now, this may or may not be true because this is someone Wizofy on Instagram.
Wiz of AI.
Wiz of AI. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God, I'm retarded. Is this AI then?
Slow Joe's back on the air after taking a week off from getting duped by the internet to go elk hunting, armed with the most powerful bullshit detector known to mankind. As luck would have it though, while he was off camping in a 5-star hotel and getting choppered into the mountains to meet his buddies, Rogan was absent for one of the biggest free speech controversies since the Biden administration directed Twitter to silence some of their biggest public health critics. However, this time it was his own team committing the cardinal cancel culture sin by forcing Disney's ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel and then openly bragging about how they just wiped their asses with the First Amendment. It was only for the intense backlash against Disney that forced their hand into reinstating Kimmel days later, which then led to the president threatening to sue them for not doing what he wanted. And the whole time this was going down, the free speech warrior-in-chief was on the front lines of a different war, rugged up in a private hunting lodge telling his pals war stories from the green room. And as followers of this channel will know, tall and funny scientist Joe Rogan has a habit of being absent during crucial social and political moments. Just recently he was seen on a kid-sized slip and slide while the whole Epstein file cover-up unfolded, feeding us banked episodes with comedians no one's ever heard of. But now after declaring via Instagram that he had limited reception during his hunting trip, the little man was back in the studio on Monday with Bobby Mom to give us his thoughts on the current state of the culture wars.
And this is the problem, is that Hollywood in particular they're in a fever pitch of, if we don't get our ideas across, if we don't promote our ideas, then the other side wins.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is in this fever of war, of like a culture war. And a giant percentage of it is being manipulated by these overseas bots. Like, I tweeted this thing. People need to see this every time it comes across my feed. I'm just going to send it to them. What you see when you see a bot farm. So there's bot farms that have essentially an unlimited number of social media profiles, and they just go after whatever subject it is, whether it's climate change or an election or even sports. And all they're trying to do is get people to hate each other. And this is a bot farm. China's doing this for sure. Russia's doing this for sure. But Iran is probably doing this for sure. Israel's probably doing this for sure. We're probably doing it as well. We're doing it to them. And this is another creepy aspect of AI that was exposed fairly recently. You could tell it how to behave. And I want you to pretend that you are an unhinged leftist that wants to kill all white men and then get in there and argue. And then the right-wing people are like, oh my God, these leftists want us dead.
Right.
Strap up. And then you have like this Charlie Kirk incident, and then everybody starts to really believe it now.
Having Andrew Santino on the podcast for the first day back after everything that went down last week is so ironic, given that his podcast with small Asian boy Bobby Lee is so successful due to their refusal to engage with politics and the culture wars. Bad Friends is one of the few comedy podcasts left that hasn't been dragged into the culture wars, except for when Mark Maron went on there recently and shit on Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe. But I'll come back to that towards the end because Mark is clearly living rent-free in Rogan's shiny, bald head. He can't help but throw strays at Mark mid-sentence whenever he gets the opportunity to these days. But Santino was there to promote his new comedy special on Hulu, and instead of talking about it and having a laugh with his old buddy, Rogan ended up unloading the latest iterations of his talking points, barely letting Santino get a word in, and proving yet again that the only war Rogan's on the front lines of is the culture war. And the thing is, Joe is probably right about the bot farms and how they're being used to create political and social division around the world. We've all seen them in the comment sections across different social media platforms. But the funny thing about our boy Joe is that he doesn't realize that he's still being duped day in and day out by online bots.
If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you add a bunch of, if you're going to kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and you talk to him on Discord. I think he's a furry. I don't want to disrespect.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
His boyfriend's definitely a guy who became a girl.
And wears furry stuff.
I think they do furry sex. Or furry games. Excuse me. My apologies. Shout out to the furries, because me and Duncan Trussell, we did a podcast once with the mascot outfits.
Yeah.
And we took the masks off after like 5 minutes. We're like, bro, shout out to the furries. Like, this is fucking hard.
Tough. Yeah,
it's tough. We had this
sweating.
You have this big chipmunk head on all day. They're heavy. Right. You're hot in there. We couldn't breathe. Like, oh, dude. We took it off, and we're like, shout out to the furries, because these guys are out there rocking that all day long. Like, that is a commitment to being weird. We're at 330 plus. Who knows how many people snuck in during the last 4 years?
Yeah.
How many terrorist cells and every thing's ready to spring to trick you into adopting some sort of a digital ID. Yeah. It's wild. At the same time, they're making so much AI that they're not even going to be able to power it. We have to substantially improve the power grid and power output.
How do we do that?
You're asking the wrong guy. You have to power the new god, Santino. You got to power the new god. The new god requires a lot of electricity.
Yeah, God, he's hungry.
Look at
he needs energy.
What? Now, this may or may not be true, because this is someone Wizofy on Instagram.
No, Wiz of AI.
Wiz of AI. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Is this AI then?
Damn it, why does it lie? Joe Rogan is easily the most terminally online celebrity in existence, yet he's the one preaching the loudest about the dangers of AI bot farms, fooling us into hating each other while frothing at the mouth over kitty litter in schools, fake videos from Twitter, and the dangers of relying too much on AI. The guy has completely lost his mind over the last few years. He is so far removed from reality that it's become comical to watch him recycle his social media feeds on the podcast. Who knew that the funniest thing he'd ever do is lose his mind in slow motion for the world to see? And just when you get a glimpse of the old Joe, you think he's finally snapped out of it, and you breathe a sigh of relief, but then he'll somehow find a way to compare mountain lions to a political assassination.
The point is, these mountain lions, you gotta let them know who's boss.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not for killing mountain lions. I think they're awesome. I love them. But I'm for killing some mountain lions. I'm not for killing them all.
Just a few.
I'm not like kill them all. I'm like, no, you need a balance out there. Otherwise, you get an overpopulation of animals.
Right.
But what you don't need is them killing your kids, okay? Because they will kill your kids. And then I told him, you have to respect me. I've been in this office and you hear and your kids, the back of your kid's head is caved in now, and this cat's running over a fence with them, and you turn around, your kid's gone. Like, yeah, that's real.
That's real, dude.
That's real. That's a cat. If it decides it's going to kill you, you're helpless. So shut the up with all this Narnia nonsense. You got to let them know who's the boss. You can't come in my neighborhood, shithead. You don't put a collar on them and take pictures. So cute that they're in our neighborhood. Look, they're camping in front of my house. Yeah, they're waiting for your kid to go get his ball. Are you crazy? They just ate your neighbor's dog. And now they're waiting for your kid to get his ball. It's like these people they don't know what animals are. They think they're living in a movie. They don't. With the Charlie Kirk thing, they don't know what an assassination is. You're cheering that someone got killed with gun violence. You're supposed to be the anti-gun violence people.
Right.
You're cheering for gun violence. Do you know how fucking crazy this makes you look? You're cheering for gun violence against a guy who deplored violence.
Right. Yeah, adamantly. Was pretty loud about it, too.
Hang on, I thought we were getting duped into hating each other by the AI bot farms. Damn it, Joe, now I'm falsely confused. And just when you thought the hypocrisy couldn't get any worse, Rogan went on one of the most unhinged and delusional rants about how social media is breaking people's brains. When I heard this the first time, I had to re-watch it several times because I could not believe what he was saying. This is Brendan Schaub and Bert Kreischer levels of delusion. This is what happens when you're constantly surrounded by yes men who nod their heads and laugh at everything you say because none of them have the balls to call you out. Except for Brian Callen, and we all saw how that went down. Joe Rogan doesn't realize it, but in this next clip, he perfectly describes Joe Rogan.
This is one of the reasons why I've been off social media for like the last 7-8 months, mostly. Like I'll look at it occasionally, but I don't read anything about me at all. I know guys that have lost their minds. They're in that all day long, having conversations with people on Twitter all day long, debating points, arguing stuff all day long, making response videos, making other videos, going and talking about it on a podcast. Like, what are you doing with your life, man?
Yeah, it's weird.
This is nuts.
Okay. Having watched that again, it's actually worse than I thought. Joe doesn't argue with people online, I'll give him that. He posts and ghosts, but instead he'll see a fake headline or video, do absolutely zero research, and then come out on his podcast ranting about how crazy the world has become and how we're on the verge of civil war. That is so much worse, like holy shit. And the worst part is, even when Jamie pulls him up and tells him the video or article is fake, he'll quickly dismiss it and say something like, yeah, but it could be real, or I'd believe it if it was real. That has to be the most delusional thing Rogan said all year, and there's some stiff competition out there for that title. Claiming he never posts online while his Instagram stories are full of fake news and videos is wild. And look, I get it. Joe thinks he's just asking questions. But when your entire show is built on reacting to shit you saw on Twitter and Facebook, maybe it's time to stop preaching from your ivory tower about how doomed our society is when you're responsible for spreading bullshit around the world while cosplaying as a comedian. And that's the problem. I've finally managed to hit the nail on the head as to why Rogan's downfall has accelerated recently. It all goes back to the comedy mothership.
We can have differences of opinions. Like when we're in the mothership green room, my politics are so different than Ron White's, and Ron White's are so different than Brian Simpson's, and Hassan's somewhere in the middle. His is different, and Tony's Tony. He's got his like. We're all sitting here having conversations about things, but we're never like, "Hey, you fascist, you don't know shit." Like, we're not calling people names. We don't have enough power for AI, not enough to run trillion parameter models, not enough to power hyperscale data centers, not enough to meet the chip demand that doubles every 9 months. The media spun it as historic pledges for AI innovation, but behind closed doors, the conversation was blunt. This might be just like this article they write about behind closed doors at the mothership. Behind closed doors, the mothership, they're handing out Nazi paraphernalia and Sieg Heiling each other. This is the number one most ridiculous song that for some reason or another the guy didn't become famous. This is from 1969. It's a guy named Johnny Thunder, and he made this song called I'm Alive. And Brian Simpson brought it into the green room in the mothership. He's like, this is going to be one of your new favorite songs. Like, you got to listen to this song. And I played it in the green room, and I was like, oh, my God.
I'm alive.
Stanhope said this famously once. He said, I could quit comedy, but I could never quit comics. It's like, yeah, like that is more fun even than doing stand-up is hanging out with comics. Yeah. And we're all just being silly together. It's fun.
Well, last night I was at your club having a fun time with all the boys. Gillis came down, and you know when he comes down and has to, that's when he starts it up, dude.
Yeah, no, he's the best. That club's got a great vibe, man. It really does. It's got a great vibe. And that's the thing. It's like if you're on the outside, you look at it and you go, oh, those people. That's a completely normal way to react.
Sure.
It's completely normal.
Yeah.
But we're not saying you. Like,
no.
Trust me.
Imagine being a 60-year-old man and still acting like you're in middle school. Joe, nobody wants to hang out with you in the green room and listen to your boomer tunes. They're all there because they're getting paid. That's when it hit me. Everyone that Joe talks to on a daily basis is on his payroll. He gets escorted by SEAL Team 6 from his house to the podcast studio and then to the comedy club. Everyone around him works for him, including all the comedians that hang out in the mothership green room. Every guest that goes on JRE is there to promote something, so they're not going to push back on him. Anyone in that position would lose their mind and become completely delusional. It's like Taylor Swift or The Rock. Everyone around them is getting paid. They have completely lost any semblance of a normal social interaction. That's why they become so delusional. It's actually kind of sad when you think about it, and every now and then we see glimpses of what Joe's really like. I mentioned earlier about how on a recent Fight companion, Brian Callen called him out for thinking he's smart enough to read and understand scientific literature when he has absolutely zero scientific education and he's never stepped foot in a lab. And in that moment, we saw Rogan go full domestic violence on Callen, saying, "I'm not going to talk about this with you because you're making me angry." But then they all laughed it off and went back to the usual programming. Joe's not used to people talking to him like that, so when they do, he doesn't know how to react. He just shuts down and starts glitching. Remember that audio recording from years ago when that PhD lady called up a radio show he was on and he full on lost his shit? That's the real Joe Rogan. When he's challenged, he starts glitching and crashes out. And that's why I think the Mark Maron situation has got him by the balls. Joe can't let it go. He claims to never read anything about himself and completely ignores the criticism, yet he keeps bringing it up at every opportunity. Finally, Santino managed to get a word in about the whole Jimmy Kimmel situation while Rogan was catching his breath, but then Joe just couldn't help himself.
And I think my beef with that world is, I think they got so political and they had to ground themselves in it so much that it took away from how fun those shows could be.
Yeah.
That's just the system that started to take place.
It's everybody's fault.
Yeah.
It's the president's fault, too.
Well,
because
yeah,
he's
he
doing it back and forth
eggs
with
them
them.
on. Yeah.
But meanwhile, he got together in that dinner with Bill Maher, who's been talking shit about him for decades. And apparently Bill Maher liked him.
Yeah,
they like each
I
other
think
now.
I saw that. Yeah.
Do you know how crazy that is? Just talk to him.
Talk to
like
him.
how many times do you have like a little beef with a comedian? You get in front of him and you have a conversation with him, and then 20 minutes later, Mark Maron. 20 minutes later, you're hugging each other. Right, because most people in person are cool.
Yeah.
But you get lost in whatever the is in your head. You're arguing with yourself, and with Trump, it's all about disrespect.
Hey Joe, you know who else Trump used to be friends with? Never mind. But this goes back to what I was saying before. Rogan's hypocrisy is out of control at this point. He'll spread a bunch of bullshit, speculate about the wildest shit you can imagine, go balls deep into the culture wars, and then he'll finish it off with, "Why can't we all just get along? Is it that hard to just have a conversation?" Meanwhile, he's having a conversation with himself, surrounded by a bunch of yes men who'll nod and agree with everything he says because they want to get that Rogan bump. And it's so sad to see someone publicly humiliate themselves like this, acting like they're surrounded by genuine friendships when the reality is their whole life is completely transactional. I don't think Joe would last a whole week in a world where nobody he interacts with is on his payroll. That is such a wild concept to get your head around. I just can't imagine what that would be like. Anyway, make sure you check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in seeing my breakdowns of Kill Tony, as well as my comedy special reviews and much, much more. And if you want to see more cringe outside the podcast universe, head over to my newest channel, More Cringe, and get subscribed so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.